I'm Jessie Aredia, and you're listening to Mom Empowered, where I help moms break free from their anger, grow in confidence, and thrive in motherhood. This show is for the mom who's ready to go from angry to empowered. Okay, so I have on today with me on the podcast Elyse Conroy. You need to check her out on Instagram. Was it Elyse Conroy XO?
That's me.
Is that your
Yep.
handle? That's a new handle.
It is. It was at your soul makeup, and I made a big switch. Look at me.
I love it. I love it, love it, love it. So go ahead and follow Elyse because she is like a confidence queen. Like,
Mhm.
I wanted to have you on because, first of all, we're going to be talking about shame. And I have a new course that's coming out. By the time people are listening to this, it will have just been released. And the course is entirely about shame and about healing from it, breaking free from it, not from the viewpoint of like, oh, here's how to never struggle with it ever again, but more so like, here's what to do when that voice is getting loud. When you do realize, oh, I am making my decisions from a place of shame instead of a place of authenticity or freedom, and joy. And it's just it's meant to be a course to kind of guide you on that healing journey, and not as like a one and done event, but as like an ongoing journey that you may be on for a very long time, if not for the rest of your life, because we are all still going to be human with human brains. So that's why I wanted to release that course, because I feel like shame is probably one of the most common emotions for me, I guess you could say, even more so than anger, which I think will be very shocking for people to like hear that. But like, of all the emotions that I experience, I feel like shame is the one that hits home the most. And I know that for you, Elyse, and why I wanted to have you on is that you have also experienced shame, as most women have.
Oh
Well, I
yeah,
would say all
unfortunately.
women have. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It's just a thing that we like experience and have to navigate through. And I wanted to have you on particularly because I feel like over the last, can you believe we've known each other for 3 years?
No,
Does
that
that
feels
even
like
feel
an
real?
instant.
I know, it doesn't even
It's
feel
an
real.
Yeah, instant and a lifetime all at the same time.
Yeah, I know, it's crazy. But I remember when we met 3 years ago, there was something about you. I mean, obviously, this was like all your healing and your confidence work coming out in our conversations, in our friendship. But like, there was just something about you where I felt like I could take my walls down and just be like, here's all the things I'm afraid of and I'm feeling shame about. And you literally would just like on the spot give me like these huge mindset shifts and these huge like different ways to look at things. I remember having conversations with you about money and shame that I felt about debt and about investments. And I remember, conversations we've had recently about my separation and like the shame I have felt from like that decision. And just like, I don't know, I feel like anytime I talk with you, I'm able to share those things and share like what I'm struggling with, what I'm wrestling with. And you just have these like, you just drop these bombs in my life where I'm like, duh, why haven't I been able to look at it this way? But it's because you've done this work for yourself, and you help other women do this work so often. So yeah, long story short, that's why I wanted to have this conversation. You immediately came to mind. And
Oh.
for the listener who's listening today, I literally have like no questions planned. This is seriously just an off the cuff conversation, and we're just gonna see where it goes. But yeah, we're gonna be talking about shame. So yeah, I
Ugh,
don't know. Do you
so
have any
good.
thoughts before I go on?
Well, the first thing I have to say is that shame is just normal. It's
Mhm.
normal. It's a feeling we're all going to feel. And I don't think anybody starts their day off by going to their friends and being like, what shame are you feeling today? Right? It's just not something we are societally conditioned to do as women. And I think that having those types of relationships, like what you mentioned, where you felt safe with me to just let your walls down and be vulnerable and just kind of verbal diarrhea, whatever's coming to mind, and feel safe to do that is such a powerful gift. And I find so many women aren't in spaces where they have relationships where where they feel safe to be themselves, where they can let the walls down and not fear judgment or not fear that something that they say is going to be used against them. So I just want to normalize shame is a
Mhm.
feeling that we all feel as women. We don't need to hide from it. We don't need to see it as a problem because all emotions are normal. We don't want to categorize this is good, this is bad, right? It's just a normal feeling that we're going to feel. And the more you can normalize it, the less of a problem it's going to be when it actually does come up. And you're not going to feel as scared to talk about it because it's just going to be like, oh, yeah, feeling some shame today. Cool. Let's work through this. Right.
Yeah, I love that. Now, do you feel like your, because with you saying, okay, it's normal, it's common, then like obviously we can assume that like you still experience it sometimes too, right?
All the time.
Like you
Yeah.
have that voice in your head. I'm wondering, like, have you noticed that voice shift and evolve and like
Oh,
sound
yeah.
different over the years, like especially in each decade?
Yeah, 100%. And the crazy thing is, before I really started doing all this work on myself, which was about a decade ago, shame and oh no, I was not somebody that felt shame. I was not somebody that felt insecure. I was not somebody that ever had low self-confidence because I was too terrified to admit that I was
Mm,
struggling. And once again, going back to societal conditioning, when we are taught as little girls, a lot of us only see happiness is okay. We're not taught that the other feelings on the spectrum are safe to feel. So for me, I grew up thinking that shame isn't something that is talked about. We only talk about when we're happy, right? So for me, I would always hide. And the one thing that grows when we're hiding is shame. So shame is one of those feelings that if it's not vocalized, if it's not talked about, it just starts to take over. And I would notice shame coming up for me in the littlest of moments of if I said something at work and I was in a meeting and all of a sudden, like next day, I'm still thinking about it. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm so ashamed that I said that. I'm so ashamed I made that mistake. How am I ever going to recover? And now months later, that same thing is still haunting me. So truly, until I started doing this work on myself, I would never admit to anybody out loud that I ever felt shame because it didn't feel safe. And that was something that would be used against me because I should be stronger than that. I should, be able to feel my feelings or go through these things without feeling shame. So I just never aired it out. And the queen that really turned me on to feeling safe about shame is Brene Brown, which we love. We know her. And I love when talked about this on her Netflix special, but she basically said if she doesn't want to talk to somebody on an airplane and they ask her what she does, she'll say, I'm a shame researcher, because literally it stops the conversation right there because nobody wants to talk about shame. And so I think going through the experience of learning how to feel safe feeling all emotions, learning how to talk about and honestly be vulnerable about where I'm at, that disempowered so much shame because shame can't exist in truth. And when we are in that space where I'll give you an example, this just came up for me in real time. I was getting coached by somebody in a group that I'm in, and I was talking about how I went through 5 launches in my business after becoming a mom that made $0. And they were like, oh, well, it's great that you learned all these things from it, but what is the feeling that you're not willing to feel about this? Like there's something deeper there. And I was like, no, I'm fine. I've already resolved this. And as we
You're
do, we
like,
just stuff it
stop
down, right?
talking.
Yeah, I was like, please don't dig into this. Like, don't see me, right? And so I'm like, oh my God, I'm doing that. I'm hiding something. And so that night, it started coming up. And this is such a weird way to describe this, but it almost felt like a burp. Like I felt the shame bubble coming up through my throat. And then it just came out. I was like, it was shame. And all of a sudden, this thought that I didn't even realize was living in my brain, it was like, your family can't trust you because you didn't make any money. They can't depend on you. You're a failure. You should be ashamed of yourself. And I was like, oh my God, I didn't even know that was in there. So then I saw it and I was like, do I really feel that way? Do I really feel like my family can't trust me? No. Do I really feel like I've let them down? No. Do I really need to stay here? No. And then I just let it go with love because it wasn't something I needed to hold on to because it wasn't true. It was just a fear. It was a fear of, oh God, what if it happens again? Right. And so once I just saw it and I acknowledged it and I let it just move through me,
Mm,
then it didn't have power over me anymore.
yeah.
So very long-winded way to say, no, I didn't used to feel comfortable with shame. I didn't want to talk about it, didn't want to acknowledge it, but I'm in a place now where I'm so willing to feel anything that shame is just no big deal.
Yeah. And I think that that's so powerful for women to hear because notice how Elise is not saying, oh, I just shoved down the shame, but more so like I looked at it. And I'm
Yeah.
wondering, like, I mean, a part of me thinks that that's just a part of like maturity, right?
Yeah.
Like as time goes on, we realize like, okay, this is not exactly my logical brain speaking right now. Okay, like there's a lot of mind drama I've got going on. But I also wonder too, like, do you feel like you're better able to navigate shame because you are surrounded by women, kind of like, like what you said, like you learned from Brene Brown, but I'm sure you actually have women in your life, even now in your orbit, who have shown you what that path looks like.
Yeah, 1,000%. And it is creating, I call it an elevation squad in my world. It's like women that can lift you up and champion you and people that you feel safe being so authentic with. And so, for example, my best friend, I can tell her anything and I never have to worry about judgment. I have so many friends like you who are coaches who are so deep into the work that I can voice note you and be like, hey, Jesse, having a shame spiral today. Like, tell me your thoughts on this, right? And it's just not a big deal because it's so normal. So I think surrounding surrounding yourself with the right people is key, because then they're not going to be like, oh my God, I was talking to Elyse and she's feeling shame about this. Can you believe her? Like, we never want to invite people into our life that have that type of vibe. It just doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel safe to be in that type of presence where there's judgment passed upon you for just going through something that we all go through.
Yeah,
Because
you
they're
are.
going through it too. They're just
Yeah,
not saying it, right?
yeah, it's so true. And we'll just say you are in my elevation squad as well.
Oh, thank you. Likewise, likewise.
Like, like for just the voice notes you've sent me of like, hey Jess, I'm feeling this. Like I have also sent you some like, hey, I'm doing okay, but and then the, word vomit comes out.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Tell me about, you know, you've become a mom a couple years ago,
Yeah.
which is a huge transition.
Yep.
And I'm sure that with that has come some feeling of inadequacy, shame, failure, questioning, all the things, because as in any big transition does, it does come with a lot of those feelings. So, like, when you think about shame as a mom, what comes to mind?
Well, it's even if I back up into what I had to do to get to the point of even becoming a mom,
Mm,
because I actually hired a coach to work with me for 6 months because I didn't see myself as being capable of being a CEO and a mom.
mm,
So think about the shame that came along with that of like, I can't do both. I am not somebody that does both. So once I broke through that stigma, then having the baby, or actually, I should say, going through pregnancy, all the ideas that are projected onto you. You should do this, you should do that. And anytime there's a should involved, throw it away because that's riddled with shame and judgment,
mm,
right? So I just noticed if there's a should present now, I'm like, no, we're not going to do that. I don't do shoulds. But then going through pregnancy, it was like so much projected onto me. Then having him, it was like, which mom blog do I read? Should I read this expert? Should I look at this? Who is the right person? And I think that when we are going through that process, it is so normal to the point that 65% of moms have gone through this because they don't know how to parent. They don't know what decisions right. They don't know who to listen to. So many moms feel shame about parenting decisions at some point, and I definitely felt all of that.
mm,
And what really helped me to step into letting go of the shame is deciding I know what's right for me and I know what's right for my child, and any other ideas that don't go accordingly, those are going in the trash, right? Like, I'm not going to listen to it. I'm going to let them bounce right off of me and onto them. And I'm not going to let this influence how I parent. If I need to research something, if I need to learn something, I know who to ask. I've got my advisory board who I talk to, which is basically consistent upon a very select few people because I trust them. And I
mm,
think that when we are in that parent shame spiral, this is when it really impacts our confidence, our self-worth, because now we're comparing ourselves. Huge shame bomb, right? When we're in compare and despair, it's like, oh, this mom's doing this. She's okay here. She's not having, postpartum depression. She's not living with baby blues. Why am I? And now we're shaming ourselves versus just accepting where we're at and trusting this is our journey and not holding ourselves to an unrealistic standard, because those conditions that we are putting upon ourselves, it sets us up for the most horrible feelings of
mm,
failure because it drains our self-confidence, it drains our self-trust. We don't know what is right, we don't know what is wrong. So of course shame is to follow. So when I navigated that process, letting go of anybody else's standards of what is right, what is wrong, what I should be doing, what I shouldn't be doing, just letting all of that go really set me free. And so many women have commented, they're like, I just admire your unapologetic approach to being a mom because it gave me the permission slip to do the same.
yeah, I feel the same way too, but it wasn't like an overnight thing, right?
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
something that you kind of grow into or you heal into maybe. I know for me, like I used to feel all kinds of insecurity about screens, about the way I discipline, about the way I even like emote around my kids. Like the
Right.
fact that like sometimes I'm just crying, sometimes I'm overwhelmed and I'm verbalizing it. I'm not in like a I'm like word vomiting, but just sort of like a, guys, like I can't hear this anymore. Like my brain shut off. I'm done. And just like being able to own that
Yeah.
because that is my truth and there's nothing that Enneagram 4 there's like nothing more important to me than like being my most authentic true honest self. Like I have learned through doing that, oh, it's okay still. Oh, I didn't do anything wrong. Oh, like my kids are still fine. Oh, we're all surviving. Like I think that we don't even know what is okay until we give ourselves permission to try it, until we say, you know what, okay, I'm gonna, you know, let my kids play on the playground barefoot. What
Yeah.
happens? And I'm not gonna compare myself to every other parent who has their dressed up in all the cute little bows and the boutique outfits, right? Like sometimes we just have tiptoe into it and then just grow confidence through those experiments. I'm wondering, like, do you feel like you still have work left to do in that area? Like, do you still like, can you think of something where you're like, ooh, like, yeah, I'm still working on that one. And you don't have to like completely divulge, but I'm just like curious, like, do you feel like your work is done or is it just the beginning?
I don't think the work is ever done. I think it's
Yeah.
like layers, right? It's just stuff comes up in the moment. Like the other day, I was working all day and my husband had our son and he took him to the grocery store and he forgot his shoes. And so I was like, "Wait, you forgot shoes?" And my first thought, and this is what is so crazy, Jesse. I was like, I can't believe this is where my brain went first, is, oh my God, there were probably so many people at the store that thought he was a bad dad because he took him to the grocery store with no shoes. And
Mm.
then my next thought was, who cares? Like it happens. It
Like,
happens.
you don't
Like
even know these people.
right. It's why am I worried about random strangers' opinions at a grocery store, worrying about what my husband and baby are doing that they're never going to see again? And I literally just let it go in an instant. But once again, it's like seeing it. You have to be willing to see it versus letting it grow legs. And I always tell my husband, I'm like, I need to air this out before it grows legs because I can't have this little gremlin crawling around in my head. So I'll say the thing that is making me feel the shame and I'll actually name it. If it's a really ugly shame bomb, I'll name the shame
Mm.
because when you're in that space of being able to see it so clearly of like this isn't me, this is shame, and you're able to kind of separate that and really like create distance in your own mind from it, just like with the grocery store analogy. I was like, nobody is literally like, if anyone has that much time on their hands, then lucky them, right? Like lucky them. I wish I had that much time to go judge strangers in the grocery store, but when I saw it and I just aired it out, then it just went away
Mm.
versus like holding on to it and stuffing it and internalizing it where it just gets bigger. We've got to take away the shame's power because
Mm.
if you don't, it just gets so big. Like I love challenging the shame of like, why do I need to feel ashamed over this? What
Mm.
whose voice is in my head that is shooting me or judging me, mentally, and why am I giving this person power?
Yeah.
So I think that as it comes up in a moment, I just treat it as it comes up. I don't ever let go shame go untreated.
Mm.
And because if it does, that's when we're really in trouble. And I do something that I think every woman should start doing. This was something so powerful. And I don't know where this came from. I swear this was just like a thought that dropped in from the heavens above that changed my life. But I was having a really big shame spiral because something didn't go well in business. And all of a sudden in my head, it was like, go take a shame shower. And I was like, what is a shame shower? And I just sat there for a
That
second. I was
almost
like,
sounds dirty. I'm like, oh.
it it does because once again, think of how many things we're shamed for doing as women, right? But I got in the shower and I was like, I'm just gonna pretend this is so weird. I was like, I'm gonna pretend that I'm just gonna let the shame wash off of me. And I just sat there and I put like lavender because I love the smell of lavender. It's very calming and relaxing for me. So I created this space. I let it get super steamy. I got in the shower and I just pictured all the feelings of shame just
Mm.
melting off of me, washing away. And I was just reinforcing like, you are safe to feel this. You are safe to let this go. And just really connecting with myself in that warm, safe sanctuary of my shower and letting all the shame just wash away from me. And I
Mm.
would say to myself, like, let yourself get lighter, let yourself be free of this. This is not yours to carry. And it was life changing. So now, if I am going through something to where something does come up in the moment, I'll go take a shame shower. I'm like, I got to get rid of this. Nope, we got to go wash this shame off. I've got to be compassionate with myself. I got to give myself grace. I got to disempower this because if I don't, then it takes over. And I don't want that.
Yeah. Oh, okay. As you're like talking, I have like a million different rabbit trails happening in my brain. Okay, so I want to back up because I love when you said the question, why should I feel ashamed about this? And I feel
Yeah.
like that is such a powerful question. And I found myself asking myself that literally yesterday morning. I had spent the morning by the lake. We have like a lake not too far from our house. And I like the what I would maybe call like a luxurious amount of time there. I brought my journal, I had my books, I like took a walk on like a trail. I just sat and enjoyed the view. I like watched little ducks and herons and so pleasant. And then I went to like post a story about it and I immediately was like, "Oh, I shouldn't share that." Because I
Mm.
felt ashamed that I had this luxurious, what I called like an indulgent morning. I had this like indulgent morning and I just kept thinking like, oh, but there's so many people who don't get to have this. Oh, but it looks like I'm so spoiled as a mom. Like, how dare I like have this amazing free morning because my kids are in school right now, right? Like I felt all this like feelings of judgment, even though no one was actually saying anything. No one actually was commenting or criticizing. But I had this fear of being indulgent. And I've seen this come up for me, particularly a lot of times. And I think we've even had conversations about it. And what I love about the way you live your life is that, girl, you have made a whole life of luxury. And
Hmm.
I don't mean that in like a like your house is like made of gold or anything like that, but I just mean like you do such an amazing job of caring for yourself. And I feel like I almost feel like I care for myself out of necessity right now, but I want to get to the point where I'm like you, where I just care for myself for fun.
Yeah.
Because like I
Yeah.
feel like that's where you're at. How do we get there? Like, how do
Oh,
we get to the point where like we look forward to booking the spa days, or we like have no qualms whatsoever of taking a mental health day and going shopping or going out with a friend or grabbing a coffee? Like, how do we get to that point where we can have that luxurious amount of care for ourselves? Whether or not it looks frivolous in the eyes of other people, like how do you get there? Or did you even start there? Or, like, what was your journey to that?
oh, I started there. Yeah, I'm an only child. I'm very spoiled, and I make no.
I am too,
Yeah,
but I'm so insecure about it.
but
Because I have been criticized.
yeah,
Like I've been
and I
called
have
like the
too.
spoiled
Yeah.
only child. I've been called the
Yep.
spoiled brat. Like
Yep.
it sticks with me.
Yeah, I welcome that. I'm like, so what? You're jealous? Sorry, but not sorry. Like, I make no apologies for
Yeah.
living a very luxurious life. And this is something so many women always talk to me about. And this came up so hard when I had my son because I would go to the spa right after I had him. And they're like, who do you think you are to go to the spa as a new mom? You should be at home with your baby. And I'm like, says who? And that is my favorite question. Says who? Because people
Mm,
will say, well, they say, who's they? Your mom, your grandma, societal
mm,
conditioning, marketing, branding.
mm,
Who is the they that is influencing that it is not okay to put yourself first? So I think that that's really where it starts because the way that I live my life is really a permission slip for other women to do the same. Because look, I prioritize myself and I make no apologies for me coming first. Because if I don't come first, if I'm not treating myself first, if I'm not pouring back into myself first and giving myself what I need, then this ship sinks. My business sinks, my life sinks, my household sinks. I'm the caretaker for both of my parents fighting stage 4 cancer. That sinks. So if I'm not giving myself what I need and showing up recharged, everything sinks. And
mm,
this really comes from this whole it and it's so interesting watching this all come together once I launched my business in 2019. When I was working in corporate America, I was working 100 hours a week. I was flying 100,000 miles a year, and the only place that felt like home for me was the spa because
mm,
that was the only place, the only time I ever created time for myself to just kind of de-stress and really just let go and just be there for myself. But I noticed the second I walked out of the spa, all of that stress came back into my body. And that was really when I started working with a healer and doing so
mm,
much more of this internal work that has now just become a lifestyle for me. And when I made that shift and I saw the value of what happened when I poured back into myself, and I saw the value of dedicating time and putting myself first on the priority list, because I used to totally be the person that would come last and then I'm bitter, I'm resentful, I'm burned out, and I'm mad at everybody. And I'm like, when is it going to be my time?
mm,
Well, it became my time when I decided it was my time and stopped apologizing for being a woman who is selfish. And I'm doing air quotes
mm,
because
mm,
people call me selfish all the time. They're
mm,
like, you need to be more selfless. You need to put other people first. And I'm like, at what cost? At what cost? Because when I do, then everybody else suffers. So when I come first and I'm recharged and I'm showing up 100% and I have that full battery to give from and my cup is overflowing, everybody wins. And
mm,
so when I look at the value, and this is what I encourage everybody listening to do, especially moms, of showing up with no gas left in your tank versus when you're showing up after you've done one thing for yourself, even if it's 1 hour a week. What is there, 168 hours in the week? You can find 1 hour for your week or for yourself during the week. And so many moms are like, no, but I can't. I'm like, then it's a decision. At the end of the day, it's a decision. And when people say, oh, like what you were saying, there's so many people who don't have this, that's a decision. They can
mm.
choose that for themselves too, because your life will be so much better on the other side of making that decision for yourself. So let go of the societal conditioning, let go of whose ever voices are in your head telling you that it's selfish and you should be doing X, Y, and Z, and choose to see the value of the care. Because once you retrain your brain to see the value and feel so good, your brain's going to rewire itself to just do that because our brain is designed to seek pleasure, right? And there's nothing more pleasurable than doing something for yourself, guilt free. And I
Yeah.
love this. I have a whole, thing that I teach the women that I work with about applying luxurious amounts of self-care.
Mm,
Guilt free. We don't do guilt. We don't do shame for self care, right? Because to me, self care is not a luxury, it's a vital necessity. And
mm.
when your brain sees that and your brain sees the value of what it's like to have that continuous care, it's just going to choose care over giving to everybody else instead.
Yeah. And I think there's two things that came up for me as you were talking, which I love everything you're saying, by the way. The first is that, you mentioned that like you would go to the spa, but then you'd come back still feeling stressed. And I think it's because, and I really want women to realize this, there is a difference between surface level self-care and
Yes.
then like a true soul care where you are meeting real actual needs. And I like that you mentioned like guilt-free because like if you are going to the spa or let's say you're hanging out with a friend, but you're coming back feeling guilty, feeling frivolous, feeling indulgent, feeling overwhelmed, like if you come back like I don't know, like it makes me think that like there's something more that you're needing than just, oh, let me just hang out for an hour. I think it's more
Yeah.
so like, are you going in with the desire to have community? Are you going in with the goal of being authentic and being real? Are you going in, or let's say you are going to the spa, are you spending time feeling worthy of being there?
Mm,
Because if you like are missing some of those elements, like that actual like more deeper work, or maybe I guess what you call like soul care, like if you're missing some of that, it is possible that some self-care really is just it's a surface level thing that doesn't quite fill your cup. But I think
yeah.
what you and I are talking about is like those things that are foundational to you feeling like you again. And one thing that came up for me as you were talking is that different people have different needs.
Yeah.
And it's taken me a really long time to learn that. I'm like just now coming to terms with that because for a long time I have felt like, oh, well, because you quote unquote need so much more than what other people may need, then, like I said, you must be indulgent or you must be selfish or, you're just a more difficult person. Like the fact that like I need nature, I need time to read and journal and pray. I need to lay in bed for a full 10 hours at night. Like, I need these specific things for me to feel on point, for me to feel my best, for me to feel revived and inspired and joyful and not just like fall into this melancholic woe. Like, realizing that, oh, like I need these things and that's okay. Even if other people's needs don't look like mine and maybe theirs are a little bit, less, I guess you could say, or it looks totally different. Like we shouldn't shame ourselves for needing different things because we're all individual people and we all have to do what's best for us. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh my God, I like want a mic drop. That was so, so good. And I'm so glad that you painted the vision so clearly of what internal and external self-care is. Because look, at the end of the day, massages are great, pedicures are great, girl time with wine is great, but that's not solving for the internal work that needs to be done to feel good about
Mhm.
yourself. Because like you said, if you're at the spa feeling like, oh my God, my husband's probably mad at me because I should be home with the kids and I gotta hurry and I gotta rush through this. And next thing you know, you're going home and you're more stressed out than when you got to the spa because you didn't feel good enough to be there. That's a
Mm,
problem, right? Then we know
mhm,
that's a signal that your body is saying, hey, I have a need that is not met. I've got to actually do this work from the inside out. Because when we think of confidence, self worth, self trust, believing in yourself, that's all an inside job. That can't be treated with massages and manicures and pedicures. And that I think is such a profound awareness for so many women to see. And that's what I had because I'm like, how am I getting all these massages? I get 4 massages a month and I'm still so tight. I'm still so stressed. I feel like the weight of the world is still on my shoulders. Like, I thought this massage was supposed to alleviate that. No, it was the unprocessed pain. It was the
mm,
shame. It
mm,
was all of these things that were going untreated inside of me. And me thinking I needed to do all of these things because I thought that's what self care was. I didn't realize that self care was truly an inside job, and the other stuff is like the icing on the cake. So, what I like to define self care as is just anything you do to recharge your batteries, to process pain, to heal, to pour back into yourself. And I want so many more women, and once again, especially moms who are struggling with the shame and the guilt that comes along with applying self care and putting yourself first, to honor your needs. Because your needs are so vital. And I do this exercise called needs, wants, and desires because needs are like your fundamental day to day things like water, food, that could be hugs, like whatever lives in your needs list, honor that every day. And for you, like you said, it was nature, it was going and doing the journaling, but yet your brain is still like, oh my God, there's all these people that don't get to do that. But when you let go of that conditioning, when you just give yourself that permission slip to honor your needs, then your needs are going to be met. And then you can look at your wants and desires, right? Like
mm,
wants and desires could be, okay, I want a massage every month. I desire to go to a 5-day retreat in Bali, right? Like those are when you can think bigger, but you've got to get your finger on the pulse of putting your oxygen mask on first. Look, they tell
mhm,
us to do it on the plane. if somebody's suffering, right, put your oxygen mask on first. You charge your phone every day. Why are you not charging yourself every day, right? Like we've got to do these fundamental things to keep ourselves going. Like these needs need to be honored, and not that's not something we should ever, ever, ever feel guilt or shame over, ever.
I love that. One of the things that's been the most profound for me is having daughters.
Hmm.
I have three of them. So like I'm a girl mom through and through, the only ones I have. And one question that I have kept coming back to at least like once a week, but probably multiple times a week is the thought, what would I want for them? Like when I picture them being not even my age, but just being older or like, being out of the house or maybe I do sometimes picture them as moms. Like I ask myself, what would I want for them? Would I want them to judge and shame and critique themselves for XYZ? Or would I rather just have them accept themselves and have grace for themselves and be able to be kind to themselves? Like 10 out of 10 times I realized, oh, I wouldn't want this for them at all. Like if I'm like feeling shame, if I'm just telling myself I'm such a failure, if I'm making myself feel bad for whatever reason, I realize like there's no way I would want them to sit with that. So why do I think that I'm deserving of it? And I don't know, I feel like there is something powerful about considering the cycles that we can break for
Yes.
future generations. Like, I think especially, as parents, like we get to play a very distinct role in life where we are literally pouring into the minds and heart of another soul who will, usually one day like leave a mark in this world, in some way, shape, or form. So I don't know, like I wonder, like, do you think about the work that you've done, the healing you've done? Do you consider that generational
Oh yeah.
changing work?
Absolutely. Because look, we don't have to pass down the pain and the suffering that was given to us. And if I think about what was taught to me and what was modeled for me growing up is everyone else should come first and I come last.
Mm-hmm.
I'm breaking that. I don't believe that that's true. Like I'm breaking this generational teaching because I don't want to watch another woman live her life thinking that it is a badge of honor to show up with an empty battery every single day because she's pouring into everybody else and putting herself last. I don't want that teaching to continue. And I had a client who we would just had a session and we're working really deeply on breaking the pattern of people pleasing. And I asked her a question that literally in an instant brought her to tears. And I was like, "Do you want to hand this habit to your daughter?" And she was like, "Oh my God." And it's those type of awarenesses of seeing that we have the power to make sure that this stops with us. If you
Mm-hmm.
didn't like what your parents handed to you, if you watched your mom get shamed for everything and then you watched your mom stand in front of a mirror and shame herself. And I know like I would watch my mom, she would stand in front of the mirror and she would hold her jowls up and she'd go 20, 40, 20, 40. So
Oh my
then that,
gosh,
yeah,
that's crazy.
right? So now all of a sudden here's this idea in my head that is not safe to age. So no wonder why I felt ashamed when I started getting wrinkles. No wonder why when I started getting jowls, I was like, this isn't okay. I
Mm-hmm.
don't want to teach anybody that that is okay. I don't want to ever watch a woman stand in front of the mirror. And this is why I'm so committed to teaching confidence, right? I don't want to watch a woman stand in front of the mirror and think it's normal to just pick herself apart because that's what she witnessed. That was the habit that was handed to her. So if you think to yourself right now, and for anybody, especially those of you that have little girls, what do you not want to pass down to her? Because you're in full charge right now. You're in full control over making sure that that doesn't have to become her truth too. And by doing this work on you now, you get to break that generational pattern to where she doesn't get handed that suffering that you didn't ever heal, right? You can heal that for yourself. And I did a lot of work on myself before my son was born. A lot of it came while I was pregnant because I'm like, ooh, don't want to pass any of this down. Okay, let's heal this stuff, right? And I worked with radical transformation healers, like deep trauma healers, because I did not want to make my problems his problems. That's not fair to him. I'm already setting him up at a disadvantage to literally hand him this whole entire belief system and this unprocessed trauma and this unhealed pain. That's not fair to him, right? So we as women have a responsibility to our little ones to set them up for success. And that comes along with being the change that we want to see in ourselves so they don't have to heal from this crap later.
I love that. And I think what you shared about your mom is super powerful too, because what are we telling ourselves or what
Yeah.
are we demonstrating? I kind of want to pivot and it's kind of along the same lines, but and I don't know if you're like prepared for this conversation, but
I'm
you
always
and
ready.
okay, you and I have both had a weight loss journey at some
Yeah.
point in our lives. And I don't know about you, but I know when I look back on my body in that time of my life where I was not at all looking like myself. I didn't feel like myself. I was 50 pounds heavier than I had ever been. And,
Same.
that was having, two kids back to back. I remember feeling so much shame about my body. And to the point where like it wasn't just shame, but it was also like a feeling of defeat of like I don't even know what to do about this or how to get back to where I was. And that honestly like kept me stuck at that weight for a really long time.
Yeah.
I'm wondering like how did shame come up for you before your weight loss journey? How did it come up maybe for you during your weight loss journey? Or, I mean, I don't know, maybe you just like felt hella confident no matter what, but my
No,
guess is
no,
probably not. So I'm
no.
curious, like what did that look and feel like for you? What kinds of thoughts come up when you reflect on that part of your life?
Yeah, I've had a long history with really being nasty to myself when it came to my body because I grew up seeing women that were stick figures with big boobs, blonde hair, and I'm not that. I am a curvy brunette. So for me, my body shame started as a little kid because I was always trying to lose weight. And once again, I watched my mom yo-yo diet, whatever the fad, I think it was like Atkins at the time, and all of these crazy diets that she would do. So I was always on this diet, or I was always restricting myself, or I was always like getting to the point where I'm like, if I just starve myself, then I can have the perfect body. And I remember getting to the point where I was at the top of my career, literally dream job, dream life, everything. And I started eating my feelings because I could not handle the stress that came along with being in
Mm,
that level of an executive role. And on top of it, I was once again flying 100,000 miles a year. I was working all over the world where, healthy food in airports, that's not an option. There's not a lot of stuff that you can actually eat. And so I would watch myself like, oh, here's an extra five. And then I would think to myself, well, I'm still not that skinny person. So let me try to restrict here. And then I gain more weight. So I saw it happening. And the thought that really killed me is, how did I let it get to this point? And then
mm,
I would look in the mirror and I'd feel so uncomfortable that then I'd eat more or I'd have more wine or something just to try to buffer. And then I'd gain more weight as a byproduct of that. And then what I would do is punish myself and be like, okay, you're joining this boot camp and you're going to get your butt kicked for 30 days and you're going to lose 30 pounds because you're going on this vacation in 3 months and you're going to do all of it. And then I would get so burned out that I would either get injured or I would quit. And then I beat myself up for that and more shame. And
mm,
then I would gain more weight. And it was this never ending cycle of not accepting myself, thinking I needed to be something other than what I was, really just beating myself up so bad, and then eating my feelings as a punishment. And then saying to myself, I'll start next week. And then when I didn't start next week, then the shame spiral would start again. So that literally lasted 20 years of my life. And I finally got to the point where I was like, what's really the problem here? And I
mm,
knew I had this one thought. If I got my mind right, my body would follow because
mm,
I knew I had done enough things to where I tried eating, that wasn't the solve. I had tried going to all the crazy different workouts, that wasn't the solve. And when I started actually treating the shame that was keeping me in the pattern of overeating and buffering and all the things, that's when things started happening. And I lost 55 pounds. And it was so crazy because when I went through that journey, it was the first time that weight loss didn't feel hard. And I fully accepted myself. I bought a whole new wardrobe to fit my bigger body. I stopped
mm,
intentionally standing in front of the mirror looking for my flaws. I
mm,
actually said, you know what? I'm going to name this part of myself because if it's a part of me, how could I war against something that is a part of me? How could I war against a body that's working so hard to keep me alive? Like, I have to love this part of me because it is a part of me, and all parts of me deserve to be honored and accepted. And changing that dialogue with myself was the first step in not making it a war against myself every day because that's how it felt. It was like I'd see this person in the mirror and I'd think of who I wanted to be, and those two people didn't align. So I'd be so mad at this reflection staring back at me. So I had to learn to love her first and dress for her first, as opposed to trying to put on those clothes and it didn't fit. And now I'm mad at myself about that and shaming myself over that. Like it was just constant shame around every corner. And so when I lost the 55 pounds, it took almost a year. I didn't go hard with it. I worked out for 10 minutes a day because that's what sounded fun. That's what sounded like a no-brainer, like I could achieve it. I changed my eating habits and I said, okay, 75% of the time, I'm going to eat good. And that other 25% of the time, if I want McDonald's, if I want dessert, if I want to indulge in a glass of wine, I'm going to do that because restriction for me felt like a punishment and I didn't want it to feel like a punishment because once again, punishment, more shame, right?
mm,
So I just went into it with a mindset focused approach. And in doing that, the weight loss came so easily. And then when I had my son, I had gained almost 50 pounds again. And I was like, all right, we're going to do it again. And it worked again. And I
mm,
lost all the baby weight with ease. And that's the difference is the conversation that you're having with yourself in your brain. Are you your own worst enemy? Or are you your best friend? Because an exercise that I do all the time with women when I do events, I'll have them stand next to each other. and write down the list of thoughts that they say to themselves when they look in the mirror. And I have her repeat that to the woman standing in front of her. And let me tell you, it is so I have full body chills just thinking about how profound that moment is because until you hear those words outside of your brain, you don't realize how nasty it is.
Mm,
And watching the other woman receive those words and hold on to those words, and they're like, oh my God, that's so mean. How could you say that to yourself? Like,
mm.
we're not holding ourselves responsible for the dialogue that we're having with ourselves. And you spend the most time with you. So why would you be so nasty to yourself? Why would you shame yourself? Why not just love and accept yourself as you go? It'll make the process so much easier.
Oh, that's so, so well said. And I'm picturing what you just said about like, why would you not love yourself? A thought that I had immediately was, why would you not want to be yourself? And I kind of want to pivot again. I know we're just like jumping
I
around,
love
but
it.
like, because
I love it.
it's just all encompassing, right?
Mhm.
Like, shame shows up in all aspects of life,
Yep.
really, truly. I'm thinking about the woman listening today who I think you kind of you painted this picture of like looking at yourself in the mirror and like feeling so far from who you want to be. I think that women can feel like that for all different kinds of reasons. Sometimes it is because of their body type or, their body shape or their weight, but other times it's because of they look at themselves and they don't have the career that they thought they would have. They don't have the feeling of success that they've wanted to achieve. They don't feel the feeling of creativity and inspiration that they once saw themselves capable of, right? Like I feel like we, in some way, shape, or form, we all sometimes look at ourselves in the mirror and feel like, why am I not there yet? Why am I not her yet? And sometimes the her isn't just this like idealized version of ourselves. Sometimes the her is our true selves. And I think like that is a whole healing journey in and of itself of like coming home to who you really are and really embracing and accepting that. So I'm wondering, like, can you remember a time in your life where you looked in the mirror and you realized, oh, I'm not being myself? And then,
Mhm.
like, what were those first steps or what was helpful to you in becoming Elyse, becoming the true Elyse and not just like the masked, hidden, shrunken back, silent version that maybe you felt like you had to be?
Yes. I remember having a very profound moment. This was when I was still working in beauty, when I was working at Estee Lauder, and I looked in the mirror, and this was at my highest weight. So I was over 200 pounds. I was gray. I could barely fit in an airplane seat. Like, thank God they flew me first class because I couldn't fit in a normal seat. I remember driving over speed bumps and my whole body would jiggle, and it just felt like this black sludge was within me. And I just remember I was like, this isn't you. Like, who
Mhm.
is this? And I just felt so disconnected from this version of myself. And I was always wearing such baggy clothes to try to hide my body because I was so ashamed of how I'd let myself go. And I was like, okay, if I'm not happy with where I am here and I see this other version of me, who is that? If I was already there, if I was already her, who was that? And I want to do something with you all if this isn't too crazy. I want all of you to just close your eyes for a second and just picture if you were already there, who is that version of you? Where is she working? What is she wearing? How is she carrying herself? How much money is she making? What is she doing or not doing every single day? What is she thinking and not thinking every day? What is she feeling about herself? What is she seeing as possible? And really just let yourself see that version of you. Just kind of breathe into it. And you can even see maybe your future self has a message for you. Say, if you want to be here, here's the first step you need to take. Just see what's there. Did you see anything?
Did I?
Jesse did it.
Yeah, I did.
She
I
closed her
did. I
eyes.
closed my eyes. I was literally picturing it. The it's funny. I think like I think more in words than I do in pictures, so it was really
Yeah.
hard for me to picture.
Yeah.
But the words came to me of writer,
Mhm.
creative, honest, raw, um, authentic, successful, a healer. Like I think like
Mhm.
all of that encompasses what I have been striving for and trying for and not always succeeding at, right?
Yeah.
Because there is these default patterns where we revert back to what feels safe or what
Mhm.
feels more comfortable, even though not being ourselves is never really actually comfortable. It's always
Yeah.
uncomfortable. We just don't want to look at it. I think like this year I have been on this journey of unboxing myself. And I
Mm,
realized, like, you know what? Like, you love being a course creator, but that's not actually your title. Like, that's
yeah.
not like what your purpose is in this world. It's not to create a bunch of courses that you sell. And it, like, my role, what I actually believe is like my true self is just to tell stories, sort of like what we're doing today, where we're like unpacking things that are very personal to us and yet are so universal because we are all experiencing it in some way, shape, or form. I think that I just like literally like a few months ago started calling myself a creative. And for the longest
Mm,
time, I have not let myself call myself that word because when I picture a creative, I picture like a woman in overalls covered in paint who's like hair up in a messy bun and like walks around like with kombucha. Like I like picture something so different than like what I see for myself. But the truth is, like through and through, I am a creative. And
yeah.
yes, like my job may be to, create courses that I sell and to show up online and to market, right? Like, but those are just things that I have to do in order to get to the stuff I really want to do, which is to tell stories, be creative, write, and heal and help heal other people in the process. And the more that I step into that, even just me creating this shame course was such a healing experience for me because it was
Yeah.
like, okay, what are all the things that you would love to say that you haven't felt permission to say because it didn't fit into this tidy box of, oh, the HR
Mm,
expert? And it just like all this stuff came out and it was
yeah.
so beautiful. It was like healing for me. And I had like just to like create it was healing for me. And I'm so excited to see it help heal others. But like, yeah, I feel like that was what came up for me. It was like different
That's so
facets
good.
for me. Well, what comes up for you?
So it's funny because actually, let me just take one step back. I want everyone who is listening to listen to how Jesse just had such clarity. And the thing that I loved, and this is where women shame themselves, is automatically you're like, I actually don't process in visuals, I process in words. So you trusted that how it was coming up for you was meant to come up for a reason.
Mm.
So for anybody who just did that, you might have felt color or you've seen colors, you might have felt a feeling in your body, you might have
Or
seen a
pictured a
movie.
scenery, like
Yes,
pictured
movie in
yourself in an environment.
Yes, like movie in the screen of your mind, whatever it could be. But whatever you just experienced, I want you to think about it that intentionally from using Jessie as the behavior she just modeled, right? Because she was just free. She just let it come to her. It didn't need to make sense. It was just writer, raw, creative, honest, successful, healer, unboxing myself, right? And that's such a strong vision. And when I did this for myself, this was around the time I was leaving my corporate career. I saw myself as this yoga person, and I was not a yoga person. I always had this dream to be like a cool yogi who like meditated and zenned out and was always in nature and was like doing breath work and swimming all the time and just very chic and fabulous, but still living this very like spiritual would be a better life, right? Or a better word to
Mm.
describe like the life I was looking for, like spiritual, connected to myself. I saw myself having my own business, which was very foreign. I'd never seen myself as an entrepreneur. And
Mm.
it was so crazy because that was now almost 6 years ago that I had this vision and that's my life. And it was
Mm.
because I got clear here. So I think what you just did is you just clearly laid out for all of us what your next vision is. And when I see myself next, it is so scary what is coming. But I just did a visualization. I saw myself on the Today Show. I saw myself doing a
Ah,
TED Talk.
yes.
I'm pitching myself right now to be the go-to confidence expert for Cosmopolitan magazine. I'm getting on
Yes.
as many stages as I can because I am so ready to be seen. And for a long time, I saw myself in this cocoon, like almost like a butterfly in this like goo mode point where I was just becoming and blossoming into this beautiful butterfly that was ready to spread her wings. And I'm ready. So for any of you who just had that experience where you closed your eyes, like it starts with accepting where you're at now. Then I want you to paint the vision of if you were already where you wanted to be, where is that? Get really clear there. I have an exercise that I teach the women I work with. I call it the diva formula because once again, we don't make apologies for wanting big things. We want to be that diva and it stands for define, visualize, and action. And
Mm.
truly, that can be your success model for anything, right? Because you're going to see what you want to do, you're going to define it because we always start with why, then you're going to visualize it every day. You're going to be like, this is what I want to do. You close your eyes and it can be 10 seconds and you just visualize the life that you want. You feed belief and you feed trust into that because when you believe you can, You will, and you're going to do it. And when your brain starts to see it so vividly, this is what I love about visualization. Your brain sees it, and your brain is a problem-solving machine. So it's just going to get to work while you're sleeping, while you're eating your breakfast, and it's just going to be like, how do I make that life a reality? And it's going to start taking effortless action. But you're aligned to it because your brain has seen it. So now you're just going to do it. So just like you said, unboxing myself, you see so clearly what that is. You know it. You've seen the ending of the movie, right? So now your brain is just working to catch up so that can make it your reality. So when you start to do that for yourself every single day from a place of intention, and you start to see this is who I'm becoming, guess what? You're going to wake up and that's just going to be your life. And you're going to be like, how the hell did we get here? But
Mm.
this is so intentional. And this is such a beautiful way. I like, once again, full body chills of aligned living and just releasing the shame of being somebody who you thought you were supposed to be, being the size that you thought you were supposed to be, accepting where you're at now, and then just doing the work to get where you want to be. It's so much less dramatic. And I love like starting with I am. Right. And then just write down everything that comes to mind. You'll probably start with your job title because that's what's normal for most of us. But once you get past that, like beyond your job title, who are you? And then when you have that list, I want you to see, okay, is this really you or is this the world that the world wants you to be? Like
Mm.
the you that is fit into the box of what your mom wanted you to do, your dad, your boss, your husband, your kids. Are you being truly who you want to be? Or have you conformed, right? Because I'm guessing if you've conformed, you're probably feeling some shame. You're
Mm.
probably feeling some misalignment. And
Yeah.
we want to get into the space where you can close your eyes and see so clearly to close the gap of I'm so far from who I want to be to this is just me.
Yeah, I love that. And I'm curious, what would you say to the woman who is ready to do this, right? Like she wants to become more authentic. She wants to go after those burning desires, those dreams in her heart. What would you say to a woman who wants all of that, but she has naysayers in her life
Mm,
who
mm.
are there to remind her of the boxes she should want to be in, or this is who you should be, or wow, that's so silly. Why would you dream of that? I know for me personally, like I have felt a lot of shame around my desires and dreams because, I mean, some of it's my own voice, it's just my own thoughts, but a lot of the time it's because of feedback I've received from people in my life, whether it's my mom or my spouse or like just even social media, like even just like scrolling through and like, I mean, I hate when this might rub people the wrong way, but I hate when I stumble upon the corner of Instagram where it's all like homemakers and homeschooling moms because it like makes me suddenly like question my whole life of like, oh my gosh, like do I not love my children enough because I don't want to homeschool like at all? Am I not like sacrificial enough of a mom because I'm not this like I'm not so in love with motherhood. I'm not like so like enthralled with raising my littles. Like I like start to like get in my head and
Yeah.
I have to like actively like push the naysaying. I mean, some of it's imagined, but some of it really is true, like feedback being given. I have to like really work hard to not listen to it. And so I'm wondering like what would you say to the woman who is feeling criticized for the things that are coming up inside of her that she wants to explore?
Yeah, I would ask a question of are you deciding to live your life for you? Or are you living your life for them?
Mm.
Because when you can answer that from a place of certainty and just honesty and not judging yourself for, yes, I have decided to live for them, right? There's no shame or judgment there. That's what we're
We've all done it.
societally,
We've
yeah,
all reached a
all of
point at
us.
some point in our lives where we found ourselves there in that
Totally.
scenario.
Think of everything we've been served up as women. Oh, don't be too loud. Don't be too much. Be the good girl. Be this, be that. Like we're our whole entire life around every corner. There's somebody waiting to shame and judge us for not doing it right, right? Not being good enough in every aspect. So if you're deciding to live your life for them, that's a decision. And you get to stop making that decision if you decide to right now. You can literally
Mm.
say, you know what? Today is the day I'm no longer living for them. And then I want you to name your they. So who are the people in your head? And I had to do this when I started my business because I had all these people in my head that were stopping me from actually doing what it was that I wanted to do, which was just putting myself out there and helping more women feel confident in the world. And when I named my they, I realized it was only two girls that I used to work with in the beauty industry and my aunt. And when I
Mm.
saw that that was the they that was consuming so much of my mind, what will they think? What are they going to say? Are they going to judge me? What will they think if I fail? Right? It's like so many theys or what they say to do. Who is they? Who is this they? Like, is it your mom? Is it your mother-in-law? Right? Like father-in-law, whoever, right? Name your they and ask yourself, why am I choosing to give all of my power over how I'm living to them? And the
Mm.
second question I want you to ask yourself is, are you willing to disappoint them to live for yourself?
Mm. So that you don't disappoint yourself
Yeah.
because it is. it is crippling. And sometimes we don't even realize it, but it is crippling to wake up and to realize this is not what I wanted. And
Yeah.
this is not who I really believe that I was meant to be. And I think that that pain, I think we don't realize how painful that is.
Oh, it's awful.
And I would say it's even worse than the pain of disappointing people we love.
Yes.
I mean, disappointing people we love sucks too. And I've done a lot of that this year.
Yeah.
So like, that sucks too. Like that is painful too. But like nowhere near as painful as years, for some women, decades spent stuffing down truths and realities of who we are and what we want just to keep people happy and
Yeah.
to keep life feeling safe. And I put safe in quotation marks because it's still not safe. Like
Mhm.
life is not meant to be safe.
Right. Yeah,
Like
you can still do all those things, people please, make sure everybody else is happy, and people are still going to have stuff to say about how you're living your
yeah.
life. Like there's no immunity when it comes to having other people's thoughts and judgments not be projected upon you. And I think when you live a life for other people, and let's say like you got married really young and you think, "Oh,
Yep.
I've created this life," right? Jesse's raising her
I
hand,
raised my
right?
hand. Yep, me.
Yeah.
Me,
And
me.
you've lived your whole entire life and you're like, but I have this life and now I have all these kids and everybody sees me. I can't change this, right? And you know this, you just went through it. When you're living in that space, you're betraying yourself and you're
Mm.
self-rejecting at the highest level because you're not living a life that is true for you. You lived a life that you thought fit a standard that you were given. And think of the American dream, right? Get the house, meet the husband, have the dog, you gotta have the white picket fence, and you gotta have the kids, and make sure you're college educated, make sure you're making at least over $100,000 a
Yeah,
year.
and
And
have
if you
zero
don't
debt and
Zero debt, yes, and you're automatically flying first class, whatever. I don't know, like all these crazy boxes that we're supposed to check. And I see so many women who have checked all the boxes and they're still miserable. And they are terrified and riddled with so much shame to make a different decision for themselves. So I want to ask everyone listening right now, what if it took blowing up your whole entire life?
Mm.
Right? Being so courageous to say, you know what, whatever it is, the job, the relationship, whatever is keeping you in that place where you don't feel happy, you don't feel fulfilled, you don't feel like you're fully expressed, you're not living as your authentic self, would you be willing to blow up your life and make different decisions to live as your truest version of yourself?
Mm.
Scary question, really
Ah,
scary question. But
very scary
freedom,
question.
yeah, freedom is what lives on the other side of that. And I think, especially for people who have grown up with religion, cultural conditioning,
Hmm.
through a lot of like, especially if you're a part of organizations, like anytime you've had that imprinted upon you, it makes it even scarier to leave because, oh
Mm.
God, what are all the people in the church going to think? Oh
Yeah.
God, what are all my aunties going to think? Oh God, my mom's friends are over here judging me and I don't want to embarrass the family. So I better just stay with this person because I don't want to let them down. I don't want to be that
Mm.
girl.
Mm.
What is that costing you though?
Yeah, yeah. You're bringing up a really fair point. I feel like the cultural expectations, the religious expectations are really big. I think like we can close out on this because I know for me, like I am a spiritual person as well, right? And like in my mind, like everything in my life, I want to do through the lens of living for God because I love
Yeah.
Him. Like I love God, I love my faith. Making the decision to separate from my husband to pursue divorce was like one of the hardest decisions I'd ever made. And I was mostly afraid that I was going to lose God, that like I was going to just not feel his presence, that I was going to be so disappointing to him, that I would like lose his favor, his blessing, like all the things, right? And a lot of that isn't from God himself, that is from church and conditioning and from just different conversations that we are a part of with people who who are maybe leaders in the church. And no shame to them, like no shame to like any of the things that you've like learned growing up, but just for whoever is listening today who maybe they find themselves very similar in my shoes where they are afraid to make a decision because they're afraid of losing the presence and favor of God. One thing I just want to share is that I have never felt his presence more than I have this
Mhm.
summer. Like I have never like seen him show up for me more so than like right now. Like I am literally seeing breadcrumbs all of the time. Sometimes it's through conversations with people, sometimes it's through what I'm reading, sometimes it's through me just praying and just like listening and just being open to like, okay, God, like
Yeah.
what might you have to say to me? I'm waking up in the middle of the night with like huge ideas that
Mhm.
literally I feel like God himself is like dropping into my head. Like it's crazy. Like I just waking up, it's like 3 in the morning and I'm like, oh, I need to do this tomorrow. Okay, I will. And I do it and I'm like, oh wow, like I needed that. So, just all of that to say, the cultural, the religious conditioning, that places so much shame and pressure on us sometimes.
Yeah.
But there is hope. Like there is a way to live so courageously and to break out of that fear. And that doesn't mean that you abandon the church, although maybe it does. Like maybe that is a choice you make. It doesn't mean to like not be able to call yourself a Christian anymore. Like, no, like you still can. Like your faith is still your faith. Or that might mean like, okay, like I don't get to be a part of this social club. Like all the uppity moms who like I've tried to be a part of and now I'm becoming an entrepreneur and they don't understand it. And so now I've been like kind of outcasted. Like through all of that, like you can still find joy and
Hmm.
find healing and find safety. And I know I'm just kind of rambling, but like I just want every woman listening to like realize that yes, you
Yes.
you can blow institutions up, you can blow big things up in your life, but that doesn't mean that you lose everything. You don't lose
Yes.
everything. You still retain so much. You can still have God, you can still have your faith, but you can also still have joy. You can still have purpose, you can still have creativity and inspiration. All those things can still be present even if the external stuff is falling away or as you said blown up and no longer
Yes.
there.
And I choose to live my life through this belief. And for anybody who's afraid of losing something, I want you to just try this on and see how it feels. I truly believe I will never lose something that is meant to be a part of me or that is
Mm,
meant for me. And so for anybody
mm,
who's afraid to make a big decision, to let go of something, to open the Pandora's box of healing and see what's really in there after years of stuffing it all down, right? Like you are safe to make the right decision for you because you're never going to lose what's meant to be a part of you.
I love that. All right, well, let's go ahead and close out because ooh, we have covered so much ground. I could not believe it's already been an hour. It feels like we just got on the call. What is like one last thing you would say to a listener who is like, Elyse, shame, I'm feeling all the shame. Like, what's like one last thing you would say to her?
Just befriend your shame. Your shame is a part of you. It's not
Mm,
something that is the enemy, and just allow it to be processed through you and let it go.
mm, yeah, I love it. I love it. Oh, I might just have to add this whole recording to my course.
Do it. Do it.
Like, by the way, we have a new module. It's just me and Elise. We're just gonna have a
Bonus.
series of videos where we just unpack it all.
So true. Oh my God, this is so valuable, though. I really hope people listening take notes because there are so many juicy wisdom bombs in here. Thank you
So
for
much
having me
juicy
on.
stuff. Yes, thank you. And, one more time for anyone else listening who's interested in unpacking shame more, please, 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 first of all, follow Elyse on Instagram, Elyse Conroy XO on Instagram. And number two, check out my shame course. It's called Break Free from Shame. And if you love this conversation, you are going to love what's inside. It actually is very reminiscent of all the things that we've just talked about, but gives you exercises and tools and things to chew on and just action steps you can take. And it's meant to just bring about healing, which I think we all could use more of, right? We're never
Hmm.
done. It's always a journey, and it's ongoing. So I
Yep.
just want to invite everyone to check out Break Free from Shame, and I'll put the link in the show notes. All right, friend, thank you again. And yeah,
Thank
I'm just
you.
so glad we got to do this.
Thank you.